Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Lucky Otobo. I am a real estate consultant here in the city of Port Harcourt, the Garden City of Nigeria. So today I'd like to be sharing with us some important documents you should not ignore when you want to buy real estate properties. There are certain documents that they are of great importance. You need to get these documents handy. You need to get this document with you before you can be assured that you have acquired a real estate property. Right, before we continue, I'd like you to take just a few seconds to like this video, subscribe to this channel so you can get subsequent video notifications from me. All right, well, if you have done that, let us continue. Now, one of such important documents you need to get when you're buying a real estate property is what we call the sales receipt or invoice. Now, what's the sales receipt? The sales receipt is a commercial document. It's a commercial document. It is issued to the buyer by the seller. It shows that payment has actually been made. To that effect, it's a proof of payment. That is called the sales receipt. And most real estate companies would issue you a sales receipt once you have made any payment. I cannot say for sure whether when you buy properties from individuals or families, whether they will issue you a receipt. Now, to avoid losing your money, you can make payments and somebody would come back to deny that you have made payments. So I would advise that if you're making any payment for any property, especially when it is not a real estate company, maybe an individual or family, ensure that you make this payment through the banks. You know that the banks would give you receipts or tailors to prove that you have made a payment. So that's it for sales receipt or invoice. The next important document you need to get is the contract of sales. The contract of sale. Now, this document is actually a legal document between the buyer and the seller. Now, a contract of sale states how much have been paid and how much is remaining. Let's suppose the buyer is not paying outrightly. If the buyer is paying on installments, the contract of sale states what has been paid, what is the balance, the duration given the buyer to complete payment, where the buyer is paying on installments. So that document is called the contract of sales. It's another very vital document that a buyer should ensure he gets when making payments or when purchasing real estate properties. Now, there is this other very important document. It's called the deed of conveyance or assignment. This document is so important. Now, what is the deed of conveyance? The deed of conveyance or assignment is another legal document. It clearly states who the current owner of the property is. It is the document that shows transfer of possession or transfer of ownership of a property from one party to another, in this case from the seller to the buyer. It also transfers all rights and all title of the property to the new owner, in this case the buyer. It contains a description of the property vis-a-vis the location and the dates the document comes into binding. Note, this document should be prepared by a licensed lawyer. The deed of conveyance must and should always be prepared by a licensed lawyer and must be duly signed by the seller and the buyer in the presence and alongside with their witnesses. So that's the deed of conveyance. The fourth important document you should get is the survey plan. The survey plan. Now, what's the survey plan? The survey plan is a document that shows the actual coordinates and boundaries of a property you are buying. That's the survey plan. It shows the coordinates, the boundaries of the property you are buying. Now, when a survey plan it's actually done properly, those coordinates, if you put it in a GPS system from any location of the world, it drags you exactly to that property. That's the survey plan, and the survey plan must be done by a registered surveyor and will be registered in the office of the Surveyor General of the state where that property is domiciled. So that is the survey plan. Now, the other document is a letter of allocation. A letter of allocation, yes. Now, the letter of allocation is actually optional, but for us real estate companies, we ensure letter of allocation is issued to a buyer, especially when the buyer is not physically present during the physical allocation of properties. If you are there on ground, of course, you are going to be allocated your property to you while you are there on ground. But where the buyer is not there on ground, a letter of allocation becomes necessary. Now, a letter of allocation states the number of plots the buyer has actually purchased and the plot numbers. In real estate, each plot is numbered. Now, a letter of allocation states clearly the number of plots and the plot numbers of that property. And so that's actually the documents that a buyer should ensure he or she gets if you're making purchase, if you're making payments, if you want to buy real estate properties. Ensure that you have these documents. All right, that brings us to the end of this video. If you have a comment, I'd like you to, or a question, I'd like you to use the comment section below this video to ask your questions, and I promise I'll be giving you responses or answers in record time. Now, don't forget to subscribe.